evening, people. I'm Pastor Leia, and this very cute little sea witch here is Gingersnap. So welcome back to our living room, and also happy Halloween. So we are wrapping up our Holy Ghost Stories series tonight, since it is still technically Halloween, or at any rate it's still the season of Hallowtide, because today, November 1st, is All Saints' Day. So Hallowtide, my favorite liturgical season, is only 3 days, but it's Halloween, All Saints' Day, and then All Souls' Day. So as Presbyterians, or like Protestants in general, we don't quite differentiate between All Saints and All Souls as much as one might in a Catholic tradition. So at one point it would have been All Saints' Day would be remembering, the capital S saints, the big ones, such as, for example, any of the 12 apostles that we recently covered. Whereas All Souls' Day would be remembering people's parents, siblings, etc., people who had gone before, who were who were lowercase s saints. Anyway, so yay, happy Halloween. Hence wearing my sneaky skull dress, and why Gingersnap is still rocking her sea witch costume. She was Ursula for Halloween, and such a very cute little sea witch she is. Yes. She's putting up with it very nicely. She was purring last night and everything. Oh, she's purring now. Good cat. Anyway, so tonight we have looked at skeletons and mummies and ghosts, and tonight I wanted to look at witches, which is why my cat is dressed as a sea witch. See what I did there? So we are turning to kind of odd story in the Hebrew Bible, in the book of 1 Samuel. So the other three stories that I picked, you've probably come across before. You may or may not be familiar with this one, because it's weird and I don't entirely know what to do with it. Anyway, this is the story of the Witch of Endor. That's Endor with an E as an echo, not to be confused with Andor, which is a planet in Star Wars. So, from 1 Samuel, chapter 28. Now, Samuel had died, and that's the prophet of... I'm already interrupting myself. So there are two books of Samuel. There's the book of 1 Samuel and the book of 2 Samuel. And Samuel, the prophet, dies like halfway through 1 Samuel. So it seems an odd name for the book, but that is neither here nor there. Now Samuel had died, and all Israel had mourned for him and buried him in Ramah, his own city. Saul had expelled the mediums and the wizards from the land. Saul at this point is still king. He's about to be replaced by David. I will not go on my David soapbox tonight, but you know how I feel about him. So the Philistines assembled and came and encamped at Shunem. Saul gathered all Israel, and they camped at Gilboa. When Saul saw the army of the Philistines, he was afraid, and his heart trembled greatly. When Saul inquired of the Lord did not answer him, not by dreams or by Urim or by prophets. Then Saul said to his servants, "Seek out for me a woman who is a medium, so that I may go to her and inquire of her." His servants said to him, "There is a witch at Endor." So Saul disguised himself and put on other clothes and went there, he and 2 men with him. They came to the woman by night, and he said, "Consult a spirit for me, and bring up for me the one whom I name to you." The woman said to him, "Surely you know what Saul has done, how he has cut off the mediums and the wizards from the land. Why then are you laying a snare for my life to bring about my death? Like, why are you asking me to do something super illegal and punishable by death? That seems like a bad idea. What's in it for me? Also, how can I trust you? You seem kind of suspicious," which, fair, he is. But Saul swore to her by the Lord, "As the Lord lives, no punishment shall come upon you for this thing." And the woman said, "Whom shall I bring up for you?" He answered, "Bring up Samuel for me." When the woman saw Samuel, she cried out with a loud voice, and the woman said to Saul, "Why have you deceived me? You are Saul." The king said to her, "Have no fear. What do you see?" The woman said to Saul, I see a divine being coming up out of the ground." Saul said to her, "What is his appearance?" She said, "An old man is coming up. He is wrapped in a robe." So Saul knew that it was Samuel, and he bowed with his face to the ground and did obeisance. Then Samuel said to Saul, "Why have you disturbed me by bringing me up?" Saul answered, "I am in great distress, for the Philistines are warring against me, and God has turned away from me and answers me no more, either by prophets or by dreams. So I have summoned you to tell me what I should do." Samuel said, "Why then do you ask me, since the Lord has turned from you and become your enemy? The Lord has done to you just as God spoke by me, for the Lord has torn the kingdom out of your hand and given it to your neighbor David. Because you did not obey the voice of the Lord and did not carry out the Lord's fierce wrath against Amalek. Therefore, the Lord has done this thing to you today. Moreover, the Lord will give Israel, along with you, into the hands of the Philistines, and tomorrow you and your sons shall be with me. The Lord will also give the army of Israel into the hands of the Philistines." So now this ghost spirit whatever of Samuel is saying, so bad call doing this, also not cool, and BT dubs, you and all of your sons are going to be dead by tomorrow, so I'll see you down here, I guess. Immediately Saul fell full length on the ground, filled with fear because of the words of Samuel. And there was no strength in him, for he had eaten nothing all day and all night. This is the word of the Lord. So, kind of a strange story, to put it mildly. Saul has not been doing what God has asked him to do. And so he was kind of warned, okay, but like God wants you to do these things though. And Saul's like, yeah, but I don't want to. So then, a prophet like Sam would be like, okay, but see, the thing is, God is like God, and you're just some human dude. And, you're replaceable, right? And lo and behold, he knows that he's going to be replaced by David and not by one of his own sons. And there's a whole saga in there. People keep trying to kill each other. Don't try to kill each other. Don't, take that as the lesson from this story. Anyway, I like that you're purring at me, you sweet little sea witch. So Saul is just very upset. He's king. People should answer his questions when he asks them. And obviously he should be in charge, and everyone should just agree with him. So the nerve of God for, not answering his summons on a whim or whatever. That was sarcasm. So Saul has been told by prophets and really a lot of people in his court, etc. So David is going to be the next king. And even some of his children are on board with that. But Saul's like, nope. I don't, nope, can't hear you. I'm a king. I'm still a king. Can you tell how much I love these characters? They're jerks. Anyway, but I'm not going on my David soapbox. So Saul he really wants to get his way. So he has previously banned all magic users from the land. So any witches or mediums or wizards have gone underground, as so to say. So, but despite the fact that he's the one who made this law, no one made him make this law exactly, although, anyway. But he kind of asks around, he's like, okay, so technically, I know that I made this super illegal and threatened to execute anyone who did the thing, but I need to find somebody who can do the thing for me, because it's for me though, so it's fine. It doesn't count because I'm king. I can do whatever I want because I'm king. Did I mention that I am king? So he and two dudes who are not named go out, and so they know where this one witch is. And she's like, Yeah, so what you're asking me to do is super illegal, and if you don't mind, I would rather not die or be executed, so shoo. But somehow he convinces her, oh no, it's gonna be fine, you won't, I won't tell anybody, you won't be killed, whatever. But then as soon as she like sees Samuel, whatever message she's getting from him, she's like, well, shoot. This is King Saul himself, so this is awkward, first off, because I was kind of rude to the guy. Also, wait, he's the one who made this law. Why is he coming to me? This is weird. This is weird. It is weird. You're right. Which person? We don't get her name either. Not too many female characters are named in the Bible. Anyway, so Prophet Samuel is like, dude, seriously? You woke me up for this? Seriously? You can't just, accept the answer that God is already given you. No, that's not how this works. God isn't going to give you a different answer the second time just because you didn't like God's answer the first time. And yeah, you're going to die tomorrow. You will be killed in battle. All your sons killed in battle. Yeah. Technically, Saul dies by suicide after he's wounded and like doesn't want to surrender because anyway, it's a whole thing. Which does somewhat bring me to a poem by Lord Byron. In 1815, he wrote this poem called Saul. So he writes, in the voice of Saul, "Why is my sleep disquieted? Who is he that calls the dead? Is it thou, O king? Behold, bloodless are these limbs and cold. Such are mine, and such shall be thine tomorrow, when with me, ere the coming day is done, such shalt thou be, such thy son. Fare thee well but for a day, then we mix our mouldering clay. Thou, thy race lie pale and low, pierced by shafts of many a bow, and the falchion by thy side to thy heart thy hand shall guide. Crownless, breathless, headless fall, son and sire, the house of Saul." So spooky. Yeah, of course you can trust Lord Byron to get in the emo angsty poetry, but yeah, it's spooky. Of course, it is a weird story, but it's been quite popular among composers or artists or emo poets like Byron, etc., because it is a pretty dramatic scene. So yeah, what do we do with this story? Was there an actual witch who actually raised a prophet from the dead? And if so, how does that change our worldview? Alternatively, maybe she was like a ventriloquist, or she was creating some sort of illusion or like practical effect. That makes a little bit more sense to me. But also, this is a story about a guy who dies the next day, and the two men he's with aren't identified. So like, who heard the story before he died? Because it seems like a weird thing to go back to camp and like tell your buddies about. Like First and Second Samuel is kind of an interesting mix of history and legend and exaggeration, and so I'm kind of inclined to believe that this is more of a poetic flourish, because it's, boy, is it poetic and dramatic, and kind of really emphasizing the point that even the souls of the dead understand that Saul is, super duper messing up and about to meet his untimely demise, kind of as a dramatic, I don't know. What do you think at home? You can weigh in the comments. Various writers throughout the millennia have had different opinions. It's also a bit relevant to mention that the writing style of First and Second Samuel references some things that didn't exist during the time that the stories are set. So like, for example, it'll refer to like iron weaponry, which wouldn't have been particularly in use at the time, but like a couple generations later it was. So maybe, it's kind of a slip up, or I don't know. It's weird, and it's probably one of those questions that won't be answered until we fall before the throne of God. But it's good food for thought in the meanwhile, I suppose. So yeah, were you familiar with this story? It doesn't come up very often. I can't imagine how or why I would preach on it. That's for sure. But definitely a story worth reading. It's anyway. So yeah, as I was saying, there are all kinds of stories in the Bible, and those include spooky ghost stories, and those include romances, and those include detective stories, and it's a big book, and there's a lot in there. So friends, I hope that you are having a good Hallowtide. I hope that like Gingersnap, you dressed up and fully celebrated the holiday. Also, how delightful is it that she's so okay with this costume? It's great. You're a good cat. Yes. So this Sunday we will be celebrating All Saints' Day. So come join us for communion and remembering our loved ones who have died in the past year, and naming and remembering those who have gone before us and the effect they have had on our lives and our faith and our church. So join us for that. Also, probably should remind people multiple times this week that it is going to be a time change next weekend. You can come early and hang out with me for an extra hour before church. That's fine. That has happened before. I won't name names, but it has happened before. But it is the good time change, so you get an extra hour of sleep. So woohoo! So yeah. Change your clocks on Saturday. And spooky little sea witch here and I wish you a good night. With your octopus tentacles. Yeah.